Welcome back to the Forward Moves podcast, a place where we talk about all things marketing and operations for fitness businesses. I'm your host, Ash.
And I'm your co-host, Kira, and let's get into the episode of today. Welcome back to this week's episode. This week we have a very special guest with us. She is a nutritionist and fat loss coach. She is the owner of Training with Ash and the co-host of the Laneway podcast. Welcome, Ash Lane.
Thanks so much for having me. I feel so honoured to be here to have a chat with you guys. It's really nice. Yeah.
Oh, yay, I love that.
I was so nervous when I sent that email. Really? Yeah, so nervous.
Oh gosh, you don't have to be nervous with me.
Oh.
I'm like the opposite of that. I'm like, yeah, of course I will. Like, why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yay, that's so fun. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Worries.
And you have such an exciting journey that I'm really excited to talk about. And I feel like our listeners will be really interested in as well. But firstly, I want to give you the floor and just explain a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are, what you do, a little bit of a recap, and then we can get into some more nitty-gritty.
Yeah, of course. So I've been a coach for roughly 12 years, and it's really funny, like looking back on my journey and having these kind of conversations, I look back and I think like I felt like I was never destined to be a health and fitness coach. Like I was not involved in sports at school. Like I was not healthy in any way, shape or form. Like I was like running, walking, please no. Like I was the kid that forged a note every week for sport to get out of it, you know. So to fast forward and be here, it's kind of was never expected. Like no one would have thought that. But it wasn't until I fell pregnant with our little boy. He's not a little boy anymore. He's 12. And I really was like, okay, I want to start to focus on being healthy, you know, especially through a pregnancy. So I started experimenting with recipes and having a lot of fun with that, trying to make meals at home that were, you know, normal everyday meals, but add more nutrients and try to swap out things that were just hugely processed and stuff like that. So the journey or the interest, I guess, started there. And then I wanted to know more. I was having fun with it, so I decided to study nutrition. And it was just on as a side gig kind of thing. I never had any intention of, you know, making a career out of it. And I was having a lot of fun with that. And I was realizing how easy nutrition could be to understand if you had the right information. And that naturally just fell into, okay, well, now I want to start learning about training and so then I decided to do a personal training certificate once again for no reason other than for myself. And I sort of, I guess, discovered how awesome it could be if it wasn't made super challenging. And I thought to myself, like, if I can do this, like I started to see mental health benefits, you know, my mindset changed. Like I was very much I don't know, maybe like a poor me kind of person. This always happens to me, very like naturally negative. And I noticed that my mindset was shifting to somewhat really positive, and my physique was changing, and I felt really strong, and I wasn't tired, and I was motivated. And I thought, if an everyday girl like me who's really lazy and not healthy can do it, then, you know, maybe I can teach other people to do it. And my journey actually with training kind of started doing the BBG Kayla Itzinas program like way back when.
Yeah.
And I was having so much fun with it. F45 was just had just come out, and I was like, this is a really interesting type of training. Went and saw one of the first Gold Coast studios that opened, chatted to the owner, we clicked, and him and his wife were like, you should come in, do a session, you've got your PT training certificate, maybe we could, you know, if you're interested, maybe we could have you do like a little bit of kind of like work experience. And I was like, yeah, this is awesome, great, sounds awesome, like new mom at that time. And I was like, yeah, cool. And I just had so much fun with it. And literally one thing led to another very quickly. And within the space of probably 2 to 3 months, I was a member. I was a trainer, and then they asked me to be the studio manager in literally a space of 3 months. And I was working at a family business. My dad owns a transport business, and my husband and I worked there for a really long time. I think I was there for 8 years. And that was kind of me for the rest of my life. Like, that was the idea when I started working there. And yeah, I went rogue and I left the family business, started working at F45, was personal training, was running classes, was obviously managing the studio, and I had a real passion for meal plans at the time. Like, I felt like it was my thing. So I was doing all of that. And, you know, I was there for probably a good 3 years. And I think the biggest thing that I noticed was I had this really healthy relationship with food, and it started to really morph into something that was really unhealthy. And it started to become very all or nothing. Same with my training, like, it was becoming obsessive. I had a young baby at home, yet I was at work all day, training twice a day. It was 7 days a week. Like, in the end, it transformed into that. And I was cranky all the time. There was, you know, issues with my husband, like we were having arguments, all that kind of stuff. And I think I, at that point, was like, something needs to change. Something's not quite right. And yeah, after a few years, I realized that, you know, my values, or the reasons that I got into health and fitness and the reasons why I started at F45 were no longer aligning with who I was becoming. And I decided to get help from a coach that I really looked up to. And he helped me, like, he was a dad, still is a dad, obviously, and really helped me realize that there's more to life than just killing yourself and restricting yourself. Like, it's about balance and stuff like that. And he really showed me how to have both, how to essentially have your cake and eat it too, and, you know, live a life that was free, that felt free, that enabled you to have family time and go out for dinners and not feel like you can't have this, and not restrict carbs, and, you know, you don't have to train twice a day, 7 days a week, that kind of stuff. So he helped me see that. And then once again, I had this epiphany of like, well, this is what I'm seeing all the time in the studio. People on again, off again, you know, losing 10 kilos, gaining 20. Like, it was ridiculous. You never saw somebody finish a challenge and maintain that, you know. So I guess what I was seeing in myself, I was seeing in others, and I thought something needed to change. And I left with nowhere to go, which was really scary. But I'd had enough of my values not being aligned anymore. And then, yeah, so once I left F45, I had a bit of an interim job where I was working for a business coach for health coaches, and it was really interesting. However, I'm not money driven. And one thing that I wanted was freedom. I wanted to work from home, and working for this business coach, she enabled me to work from home. So I had the lifestyle that I wanted to have. And I was like really comfy, and I had these plans of like, I wanted to build an online business and stuff. But once I started working for this business coach, I was like, why do the other thing that you want to do? Because you're comfy, you have the life that you want to live, kind of thing. And probably a bit of fear in the back of my mind. But after about 6 months, she had a failed business launch and she cut my hours. And, you know, we're a family. We had 2 mortgages at the time. Like, I couldn't afford to not work. So after a few days of tears, I got over it and decided that I would never be put in a situation where I had someone tell me what I had to do or what I couldn't do. And with my husband's backing, he's like, let's have a go at making, you know, having your online business, including nutrition and training, and let's just see what happens. And I was like, all right, scared, but did it anyway. And within 2 weeks, I was able to replace my income. And I think that was the boost that I needed at the time to be like, hey, you can do this. There's something more to this. And I've never looked back. It's evolved. Like, that was back in 2018. And it started with 12 clients, and that was my absolute maximum. Couldn't have any more than 12 clients. Like, and it sounds ridiculous now that I say that, like having that cap, you know. And then now today we have 2,250 clients, or nearly just under 2,300, sorry. It ended up, our intake capped at 2,250 in January. However, we snuck a few extras in. So we're just under 2,300.
That's a wild amount.
That is crazy. That is hectic.
I know.
Yeah.
Are you entrepreneurial by nature, or?
Look, If you asked me that probably 2-3 years ago, I would have said no. But you know how sometimes things just click and you're like, oh my goodness, I do that because of that. My dad has always had a business. My parents are divorced, but my dad's always had a business, and my mum never worked for anyone. She was always like a salesperson on commission only, or she had her own business. And I think that their values were maybe embedded into me. I never thought that I would be. I didn't have the self-belief. I was like, I don't have any skills. You know, like I bombed out in high school. You would literally die if you saw my high school grades. Like there was D's on every single report. Like it was just never, and I thought that you had to be, you know, a straight A student to be able to have a business. So yeah, so I guess the answer is I would have thought no, but now looking back, I can see how the answer may be, like.
Do you think it was due to like having those limiting beliefs that you just kept telling yourself that you couldn't? So you always found that like confirmation bias?
Yes, absolutely.
And it was stopping you from doing it.
Absolutely. You know, like it's funny you even say that. Like we just recently got a new car, right? And all of a sudden when you're looking at this new car and it looks different and it's a different color, all of a sudden you start seeing them on the road. Everyone's got one. And you're like, wow, it's your confirmation bias. It's your, you know, your brain is now opening the floodgates, letting in what you want to see. And I think with limiting beliefs, it works identical. And I see it with clients all the time. I'm like, if you keep saying, I can't do this, if you keep saying I'm not good enough or I always fail, you're going to get more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be like on the same car thing. I used to be horrible at keeping my car clean. And then I got a new car and I heard someone say once like, if you just want to be a type of person, just start telling yourself you're that type of person. So I started telling myself, I have a clean car. I keep my car clean and my car is clean when anybody gets into it. And now even like you guys get in my car and there's a bit of grass. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's dirty. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Like, it's spotless.
But yeah. And I'm like, yeah, just you will start doing what you tell yourself you are and what you do, and it's crazy what happens from it.
I totally agree. I think that from the moment you start telling yourself, I don't think that there is a moment that you're like, okay, that's when it changed. I think that you just morph over time and you're like, I don't know, one day I just started telling myself I was confident, I was able to stick to things, I have a clean car, I have a clean house, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden it just happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think that it helped that you didn't have a plan B when you decided to go all in, that you had like left the jobs and you were just like, all right, let's do this? Yeah. Do you think there wasn't like a little safety net holding you back?
Yeah, I think that was pivotal. I kind of like laugh a little bit because years ago, I reckon probably 2 or 3 years ago, I have like an email database, and sometimes we do like a story time. More of my emails are very story time. Like this has happened in life and this is how it relates to you right now in your journey. And I did have a story time about burning the boats. And I did talk about this, about starting this business and how I just burnt the boats, and you either sink or swim, back in school, there was like a history lesson about a commander taking a bunch of fighters, I guess, to take over land somewhere, and they came on ships, and the people were like, oh my God, there's people on the other side, we're going to die, whatever. He burnt the boats because you either fight and win, or you have a plan B and you go and you fight and you die. So I've really taken that through business a lot, is like, you know what, sometimes it makes sense to have a plan B, and sometimes a plan B can get you over the line. A couple of years ago, we started traveling around Australia full-time in a caravan. And at the start, we were like, oh, look, if it doesn't work out, you can always come home. And I think in a situation like that, it can be helpful to have a plan B just to get you out there. Because if you didn't, if it's the end of the world, a lot of people wouldn't do what we did and take the risks that you take. But when it comes to business, I think you have to back yourself. You have to go all in, and you have to not have a plan B, because otherwise you'll keep thinking, oh, I can just do that, or it definitely was the pivotal moment.
Yeah, like you won't give it your full energy if you're still somewhat keeping energy in another spot, in another space.
Exactly. And you start to look, like, an open mind helps you look for other avenues to get yourself out there.
I feel like once you go all in, you look for opportunities and they come.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's not magic, right? Like, people say, oh, it's the magic of manifestation. And look, manifestation, love it, believe it. But also, it's not just, you can't just sit on your couch and just think, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to
That will come.
Yeah. And just not move and not do anything, you know.
It's
like
thinking about it and actioning it at the same time. And then it sort of comes. But then I feel like people manifesting is also telling yourself you can do something.
Yes.
So then you are more likely to do it, which comes back to what we were talking about before.
Exactly. It's just like there's a few more steps other than just, you know, just saying that you'll do it and not taking any action. But I think saying that you'll do it opens your mind, like you said, to opportunity. It makes you think, okay, well, what can I do today that's going to align with the person that I want to become or the business that I want to have, you know, or is the person that I'm being right now, is that conducive to the person I want to be? You know?
Yeah, for sure. How did you find going from employee to business owner? What was that transition like for you?
I loved it. And now the little things that I think and do, I'm like, oh, that's why I loved it so much. Like, I do, if you come to work with me and I'm by myself, I'm in a silent house just working, and I literally could work all day. Like, my husband's like, I don't know how you do it. And my husband and I work together. So that's why I kind of am like, if I'm by myself, I'll just be silent and I'll just work all day. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thrived in that environment. I am very easygoing. I'm a very calm person. I'm just a yes person, whatever, let's do it. If you said let's go to Vegas tomorrow, I'll be like, let's go, I'll be there. Like, I'm a very yes person. However, I feel like I've realized in the last few years I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like being told I can't do things, because I will show you how I can. And I think that's more driving motivation when someone says that you can't do things. So I grew up in, I guess, a quite negative environment in terms of like my school and some family as well. They were always like, you can't do that, you're not good enough. And I think that those kinds of things have really driven me in my elder years. I'm not that old, but, you know, like, I think it's a really driving force of, I remember it stuck in my head once someone's like, oh, she's just a PT. And I'm like, yep, I'll show you, I'm just a PT.
Oh my God. Yeah, and now you've got probably one of the most successful businesses I've heard of in the industry, that, like, our full awareness of the industry with who we work with.
Thank you.
So you're a one-to-many service?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you go through the transition of like one-to-one and then into one-to-many?
Yes. So we started as one-to-one, and I capped out at 12, and I did phone calls, 1 hour phone calls every single week, you know, and it was like not scalable, and it was silly, but necessary. So built that out, fine-tuned it, and then my husband actually took long service leave, and he's a very systems man. And he came in and he's like, you are doing things so like skew-if. Let's create some systems so that you can have more clients. And so we did that, and I was able to, with his systems, increase it to 20 clients. And that was like my absolute capacity at that point. And then once we maxed out, then I had a waiting list, and no one, like, I had clients staying, like they had a 12-week commitment, but clients were staying, and I just couldn't accept new clients because people were like, I don't want to lose my spot, you know, all this kind of stuff. So then he decided to take some more leave, and then we were like, all right, cool. We had this idea of a free 5-day challenge. And we thought, if we create a free 5-day challenge, let's create some more systems that can, and change some things, like dropping phone calls every week could enable me to have more clients, you know, just changing a few things the way that I did. And they were still one-to-one though. And we had this idea of like a lead gen with the 5-day challenge, which we did back in 2019, I think was the first one we did. And we had 300 people come, and the goal was to get 50 or 40? No, 50. The goal was to get 50 clients that I would take as one-on-one. And if I got 50, then Brad would leave his job and work full-time. It was called the Fat Loss Forever method back then. Now it's called Train with Ash. Brad would leave his job. And so we've done this thing. It was the first time we'd ever done it, and it was so nerve-wracking. We were seeing applications, because it's application process to work one-to-one, seeing these applications come through, and we got to 40, and Brad's like, "I'll stuff this. We call it retiring. I'm resigning," but we called it retiring at the time. He's like, "Stuff this. I'm handing in my resignation," to my dad, right? Like, it was a family-run business. So he's just got people leaving him. I know, right? So he did when we got to 40. And then we saw the 50 click over, and we're like, oh my God, we ended up at 63. So that intake was like our first, like, okay, cool, we can do this. 63 one-on-one clients is a lot. I'm not going to lie, it takes up a lot of your time. But from there, we learned so many things. We learned how we could potentially morph our one-on-one into a one-to-many service, take all the best bits of one-on-one coaching, but it applied in a way that our clients could use it on their own, and have a high enough level of education and service so that they felt confident. Accountability was another thing that they needed. So how could we create something that was self-accountable for them? So we spent probably a good, I reckon, 3 or 4 months developing what is now Train with Ash. And I still think, I'm like, this is the best program on the planet. And of course we're biased. Everyone has their own bias. But I truly do believe that we've created something in so many ways, not by looking at other people, by just listening to what our clients love, what we know that they need, where they struggle with, and creating a program that's centered around all of those, I guess, pain points and solve those issues for them, and in a somewhat self-guided service. So we headed down that path, and it has been wildly successful. That I still do one-on-one coaching. I have 30 clients. This will probably be the last intake that I have one-on-one clients in May, which is really nervous to say because I've always been a one-on-one coach. In May, it'll either be none or maybe 10. I still am like, I want to keep my toe in there a little bit.
I mean, that's how you started. It's probably what you really enjoy doing.
Yes.
So I feel like it's important to not, like how you said when you started F45 and you loved how it was making you, and then by the end of it, it wasn't. It's like you want to make sure that when you're doing this transition, you want to keep doing the part that you really, really love.
Exactly.
And you don't want to lose it. But I mean, it's understandable if you do at the same time. But
were you on Trainerize back in 2018?
Yeah, I still am.
Yeah?
Yeah. So actually, no, 2018 I wasn't. 2020 was the transition to Trainerize. So get this, for 2 years, we were running off spreadsheets, and we created this guide thing in Facebook. And I look back and I just think, this is such a laughable matter.
How wild is it when you look back on the old systems?
Even I very much prided myself at the start on I wanted to know how to do everything in the business. If I didn't know how to do something, I'd learn how to do it. And I still am like that today, because you don't know if someone leaves or whatever, you need to know how to do it. And I hate being stuck. If our website needs an update and the website guy, who knows, is at a party, I'm like, I need to know how to change. I need to know how to make that change,
Yeah, I'm very similar in that way. I hate it if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer. The next time if I get asked the same question and I don't know how to answer it, I'm mad at myself. I have to know the answer.
I'm like that. I totally get that. But I think that's an important part of business too. So 2020 was our transition to Trainerize, and we're about to transition away.
Yeah. So I really want to touch on this part in depth, because every coach we work with, this is their goal, to have their own app and to build their own platform and not use a white labeled app like Trainerize.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to walk through the process and what's included. And I know that we spoke before the podcast and you were like, what the hell?
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
So let's just start with, when did you know that Trainerize wasn't serving your business anymore?
I think, to be honest with you, probably 2020, the end of 2022 is when we realized we're growing, and Trainerize is just not really, there's too many limiting functions, and the way that we do our systems is not going to enable us to continue to scale. And we spent probably all of 2023 kind of toying with the idea. To be fair, it's a huge investment. Yeah. people don't understand. I didn't understand. You know, I had no idea that I'd be spending more money on an app than I spent on my first house. Like it made zero sense. Now you're like, oh, you know.
I was going to say, can we ask how much it has cost?
Yeah, it's a 300 grand investment. And someone yesterday who's testing our app, they're like, okay, cool. MyFitnessPal. So our first version of the app won't have MyFitnessPal connected with it. Like you won't be able to track your food in our app, but it is something that we are going to add on. But that's another easy 100 grand to have that feature.
Yeah.
So just to like give you an idea, like it's a very
people wildly underestimate how much it costs to build your own app.
Totally.
I have this discussion every day of my life.
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, like from our perspective, like I know a lot of coaches that have spent more. You know, like it's nothing to spend $500,000.
Exactly. And
or
like
more.
And like even like the proof of concept phase is wildly expensive.
Totally.
I found that the most stressful. Did you find that really stressful going through that?
Yeah, especially I think if you're a bit of an indecisive person. I am quite indecisive. I'm like, I don't know, like I want this to be great, but I like it, but I'm not sure. You know, like it's a lot.
So can we give a brief description of what proof of concept is? Because I feel like people would have no idea what that means.
So basically when you decide to build an app, you go to a development company and they put you through what's called a proof of concept. And basically you sit in a room and you just explain what's in your head.
Yeah.
And it's so weird.
It is
so
weird.
Lot.
Did you have you guys have gone through anything like that?
So we went through one with a previous company and we're in the middle of the second one with the next company.
Okay.
And I just find it so wild that they can put something together from your brain and you're like, how are you doing this? Like, what's happening?
It is wild.
So how long did that proof of concept?
That was probably, I'm going to say roughly 3 months. Yeah. And it is so mentally draining. Like getting what's in your brain out to a developer who is not in health and fitness, that has to understand calories, reverse dieting, what a fat loss phase looks like, if this happens but then that happens. Like a lot of our we have something what's called a magic spreadsheet, and it took so many years to develop, and it was probably I'm not even joking, probably 100 hours of development to develop this magic spreadsheet, which we still use today. We've taken this magic spreadsheet that has formulas as long as your home address in it to the developers. And it looks easy on face value. And I'm like, yeah, this will be so fine. A couple of hours and we'll get this knocked over. 3 months later, we're still pulling the magic spreadsheet apart to get this into our app.
What's the magic spreadsheet?
So it handles all of our clients' nutrition. So in terms of like where they're starting now in their calories, if they're going to go into a reverse diet or a fat loss phase, what that would look like. It's essentially like a roadmap, and it's based off their starting, what they maintain their current weight on right now. And then we have a second part to the magic spreadsheet, which is we call a weekly wins tracker. And that's where they track their nutrition every week. And it will literally tell them on a day-by-day basis how many calories they've got left for the week, whether they're going to get there. We have this thing called 3 grain ticks, which is our accountability system. 1 for calories, 1 for protein, 1 for training. And yeah, so it's basically, it handles all of their nutrition and keeps them on track. And then it's a huge accountability tool. Well, it's a spreadsheet. So we currently run Trainerize, the spreadsheet, and then MyFitnessPal, which is blows my mind.
Yeah.
And then you've got 2,000, 2,000, nearly 300 clients doing this. And then you can imagine the questions off the back end of that, especially if there's people that don't know how to use a Google spreadsheet.
I was going to say, do you struggle a lot with people actually just using a spreadsheet in general?
A lot. Even on your phone. So our demographic of clients is anywhere between roughly 30 at the youngest, but we've got clients that are 70. So, people that aren't really into tech, that haven't had too much experience opening a spreadsheet on their phone, like it can be hard to see sometimes too. So yeah, that was like a main thing that we needed to have in the app to make it really user-friendly for everybody, that would stop a million questions about even just how to open a spreadsheet. Like how to open a Google Sheet is literally a very common question.
Yeah.
So getting that out of your head into this proof of concept phase Yeah, it was a lot. I remember we did like a deep dive and it was 6 hours. When we left, I'm like, I can't talk. I have no words left. There's just, your brain is just so fried. And it was something that I never thought, I just didn't, you don't know what you don't know. But it was just something that I was like not prepared for. It was this whole journey of building this app has just been so much more than what I ever imagined.
Is it like having a second job?
Yeah. Well, we joked about this on our podcast a couple of weeks ago. But I was like, we literally have 4 full-time jobs and then we have a child and we've just stopped traveling. So due to just how big our January intake was and then obviously the launch of our app, we were actually supposed to travel this year as well. And the week before we were due to leave, we were like, I think we need to stay just because we're working 4 full-time jobs, you know, and we have a child too. So yeah, it's a lot.
So you said before we started talking on the podcast that it was supposed to take about 6 months for this build, but then it took 3 months just for the proof of concept to be finished.
Yeah.
So how long has it taken from start to finish?
It's been 12 months at the start of February. It was 12 months since we hit the go button and said, like, let's start this proof of concept. It's been 12 months and just the rounds of testing even, you know, like we've actually been testing the app since November. So we got it on test flight in November. You know, you do a round of testing, like this isn't right, send it back. And it's just rounds and rounds of testing to the point of we got it properly in our hands. So like it's a proper app now, not just a test flight. What day is it? We got it on Monday.
Yeah.
We literally got it on Monday.
And it's Wednesday for people listening.
I know.
2 days ago.
Yeah, we got it 2 days ago.
Wow.
And yeah, we've got 20 people on it now. Testing again. It just, from the outside in, because we talk about it a lot on social media, I swear people are just like, oh my God, like, when is this app coming? Like you've been talking about testing for so long. It's just so much more than I ever imagined. I was like, oh yeah, a week of testing and then cool, we'll have the app next week. Like we were talking about having the app in December for people and it just doesn't happen like that.
Goes so long, hey.
It's
with
so long.
With your MVP, did you have all the features you wanted to have or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. We were very realistic at the start of what we really wanted and we knew that MyFitnessPal, that integration was something that we really, really wanted, but we just knew that it wasn't going to happen in this first phase.
Is that just the 2 apps talking to each other?
Yeah, so you basically being able to, our app would pull data from MyFitnessPal, not appear to be MyFitnessPal on our app, but pull data from it and use our app like a MyFitnessPal, like a tracking.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've heard databases are exorbitant. Like the pricing of using databases in Australia is crazy.
It is insane. I'm certain MyFitnessPal might be something like, it might be even more now, maybe 60 grand a year just to have that. Yeah, like I think they quoted it in USD and I'm pretty sure it worked out to be about 60 grand a year, if not maybe a little bit more.
Do you know, I think I knew that it was like really expensive because they can.
Yeah.
Because they can just charge what they want because people want to have it. But I never knew like an actual rough figure of what it would be. That is insane.
There's a few other ways that we are exploring having that integration. Like we could create our own, but like that also is like the man hours in that.
Yeah.
So I think just working out what's the best way. And if we have to employ more people that's their sole job just to sit there and enter data all day. But also that needs to be accurate too. And I would hate for someone to be like, I've used this entry of Train with Ashes and it's not correct.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, who checked this? Do you know? Like,
yeah. And it's one of those things that I love that this is being shared about MyFitnessPal because so other coaches, they crack the shits if a training app doesn't have an integration to MyFitnessPal. And I'm like, do you know how expensive it is to be able to integrate MyFitnessPal into an app? So I feel like that's a good description of why it's a lot for a training app to have the integration.
Did it make you a little bit more understanding of Trainerize and not have as much frustration with it?
Yeah. Well, because at the start you're like, why does Trainerize not do this? You know, like there's so many limiting things that I'm like, our app must not do this and our app must not do this because it gives me the shits in Trainerize. But yeah, for what you pay for Trainerize, especially if you're on an unlimited plan, and with the amount of clients that we have that go through it, obviously it's quite expensive. But in saying that, I think like it's still a very good option. I think having an app, a shiny app, it sounds amazing and it will do amazing things for your business, and having good quality tech will, streamline systems, and it'll be an amazing marketing tool. But I think that your business has to be at a size where when we decided to hit that go button, we were like, I don't think we can do another intake like we did it in our last intake. And we got to that point in September because we've increased clients every intake, and it's been amazing, and it's always just been growth on growth, but nice steady growth, not like huge increases. When we got to September, we had a 40% increase in clients, and when we got to September and got to the end of it, I was like, I need 3 months off. Like this is, we just worked and worked and worked and worked. And then we got to January and we had a 60% increase and in new business. And we were like, oh God, like what are we going to do? But September set our expectation. Like we were like, we're never going to have to do this again. We've got the app coming. The app's coming in December. Well, the app never came. So we had to do January exactly how we did September.
Yeah.
But I mean, you become adapted and you just work with it. And it's been fine. So
I'm really interested in how your business has grown so rapidly. What's the secret?
I love what's the secret? Like, to be honest with you, I don't think that there is like one secret. I don't think it's like, okay, cool. Well, when I started email marketing, I noticed that immediately business exploded. I think there's been a whole bunch of things that we've done consistently over the last, 5-6 years, probably more so over the last 3 years, that has built to where it is today. We didn't have like a huge explosion, as in like we had 10 clients and then the next day we had 2,000. It was never like that. But I think having a range of things, we've got the podcast now. I share so much of our life on my Instagram. The podcast always starts with Brad and I, we call it shit chat. We just talk shit for 30 minutes and it's just an insight into our life. And I swear, if you go back over the last 2 years, you can see our whole life journey by listening just to the first 30 minutes of the podcast. So there's that, and it's just, sometimes it's just funny stories or what happened this week or whatever, just having a coffee with a friend. Instagram, I'm so vulnerable and open. I was diagnosed with MS 2 years ago, and whilst it was happening, whilst I was going through it, I had no idea what was wrong. I was going to the hospital. I know it sounds a bit cringe to some people, but I was on my Instagram stories being like, oh, this is a bit like funny. Not funny, but I'm at the hospital. How weird. 5 days later, she's walking out of hospital and she's got MS. Like, having people have a really good, close insight into our life, who we are, what you see is what you get kind of thing. Like, meeting me in person is what you're going to see when you listen to our podcast or you're on Instagram stories. So having relatability and having a close connection with our clients, I think, has been the thing that people love the most. That has created a community. I don't believe that we've got really clear on strategies and marketing angles and Facebook ads and stuff like that, which is awesome. But I genuinely think that it's people buy from me. Like, our 5-day challenge, this January intake, we literally had 800 people buy on day one and they had no idea what they were buying. So no idea. I had emails the following day going, I don't know what we get. Can you tell me what we get? I just paid, it starts on the 27th of January.
Wow.
It's because of
you
who
built
we
the trust.
are.
Yeah. And they know you as a person. So they're buying into the person, not so much like the product. Like, that's just like an additional for them.
Exactly.
With that, do you find now that you have additional pressures on yourself to show up in a certain way or to be careful who you align yourself with?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And my nan asks me this all the time. She's like, how do you be so careful with the things that you say, because you open yourself to criticism if you be honest. And I must say I'm very lucky, but on some occasions it does happen. My husband's very cheeky. So, some women don't like that. I've had one lady say, oh, I'm hitting unfollow because your husband is, too, I don't know the word she used, but my husband's very he's just a cheeky guy. He loves me. He's obsessed with me. He's a bit.
You guys are young love too, aren't you?
Yeah, we've been together for 20 years.
Wow. That's why he's cheeky, because you guys are young love.
But I love it. He's not disrespectful.
Yeah.
He's a huge part of our women-only community, and the women love him. The women can post things about their period and about just too much information stuff. And it's just like talking to another sister kind of thing with Brad. He's just nothing's too much information. So yeah, I think we're really lucky in that sense. But yeah, there is somewhat of a pressure. Last year, I lost my Instagram for unknown reasons. Over our September intake, which was obviously a huge jump. And I think at that time, something mentally kind of happened. We were in our sales period and I had lost my Instagram for 10 days in our sales period and I was peaking. I was like, what, this is ridiculous. This is that's where I started selling. I never had a website when we first started, just had Instagram. And we had our biggest intake at that point, 40% increase. And I think at that point I realized that, hey, we can still actually run this business without Instagram. And since then, I have definitely pulled back a little bit because I felt like there was an immense pressure to be there and show up and always share things, whereas I share when I want, more so now as opposed to being pressured into it, which can have its positives and its negatives. Being consistent is something that is really, really important, especially with growing a business. So yeah.
Did you think that was a good realization to make sure that you had other platforms in place that you can showcase yourself if anything happened to Instagram?
Yeah.
Completely.
It was super eye-opening, making sure that you can't fail-proof everything, right? But making sure that you are across many different ways of communication to people and new business is so important. And I think having, we do have Facebook, we have Instagram, the podcast, we've got a huge email database. I think having all of those avenues was really what saved us during that 10-day sales period where people thought that I blocked them. I had people, when I got it back, they were like, I had one lady say, I messaged your husband about something and I swear I wasn't trying to crack onto him. I thought that you blocked me. And I'm like, oh, I would never think that. I just got banned off Instagram for no reason, it's funny.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like people definitely freak out about things more than they should. But
they do.
Was there anything that you changed when that happened, other than how you showed and things? Was there anything that you implemented after that happened that you got blocked from Instagram for no reason?
Implemented, not necessarily, just kept doing the things that we knew that we did really, really well. If anything, I probably pulled back on trying to create a piece of content every single day that needed to go up and only focused on creating better quality content instead of just things just for the sake of it.
Sometimes posting to post.
Exactly. I think that it can get really diluted, and I feel like if you're just posting coming from a space of, oh my God, something needs to go up today, then you're not producing good quality content and it will get lost. So no, not necessarily. We did focus more on email marketing during that period, storytelling and email marketing, I lost my Instagram, this is how I'm dealing with it, and that is really inspiring for a lot of people as well, because that could make or break some people.
Yeah.
We had somebody completely copy our business 4 years ago and completely copy it, identical. Website, run a free 5-day challenge, the emails, the email sequence off the back end of the 5-day challenge when you signed up, identical. I didn't even, a client found it and she's like, oh my goodness, I think you've got a copycat. Anyway, it turned into a story time, a story time of this happened, would never name and shame anyone. But this is how I'm dealing with it. It's okay. Sometimes people do things, desperate times call for desperate measures sometimes. And I'm not saying that what happened was okay, but this is how I'm dealing with it and this is how it can translate into your life.
Yeah. Did that give you any sort of worry, or do you sort of look at that and go, well, they didn't think of it so they don't know how to make it keep working?
You know, it's so interesting that you say that. I think at the time it was the first time that something like that had happened, and it's happened a few times now. And something that I've come to realize over the last few years, without sounding like a complete dick, but I'm me. No one is me. There has been many people that have tried to do the free 5-day challenge thing, and it doesn't work. And you know it doesn't work because they do it once and they never do it again. They see that we do it, and that's our main lead gen. That's how we get clients, but it's the way that I connect with people. I always, as a kid, was like, I'm so sad I don't have any superpowers. Like, I've got a friend that can sing. I've got a friend that's got a cool name. I've got someone that does gymnastics, like running. I never had a talent. I genuinely think the free 5-day challenge is my talent. I'm like, that's just, I'm good at it. I don't know, like, I'm not good at anything else. Like,
maybe just the human connection is your superpower.
Yeah, it is. And just being normal and relatable, you know, I love when I get to connect with people. Like, that's one of my favorite things to do. So, yeah, I think it translates in our business.
Do you look at the fitness industry much? Do you look at what's going on in it?
I do, and if I do, I get annoyed, so I try not to, you know?
Do you ever get like triggered, or do you struggle with that kind of doom scroll cycle?
I wouldn't say triggered. I think I just probably, you know, someone asked me recently, is there anyone that inspires me in the industry? And I would say no, there's not. I like bits and pieces of people, but there's no one that like, oh my goodness, their goals, I want to be like them. Same for like being triggered. There's no one that really, there's things that annoy me about certain people, like anybody, but that doesn't mean that I don't like them. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't say triggered. I generally follow most of our clients, like seeing our clients. And if there is anybody that I don't align with, then I'll just unfollow, because there's no point in seeing something that you don't align with. I think that it just causes unnecessary angst. So I prefer to see our client success and be in that kind of bubble. And I feel like that helps me stay relevant and create content that is true to us.
Honestly, you can, looking from your business from the outside, you can tell that you just focus on customers completely. Because I feel that when you look at the industry from where we are and working with so many coaches, you see who's looking at other people all the time. Yeah. Whereas with your page, it's different when you click onto it and you can tell that you're only in your own community.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Like, you know how sometimes when you hear, like, that's something that I actively do, and, you know, hearing that feedback, you're like, oh, okay, so what I actually actively do does actually translate.
It's coming across.
I
love that. How do you feel looking back on F45 now? How do you feel about F45 setup in general? Of how it's run?
I haven't obviously been in there for a very long time, so I don't know if things have changed, but I was very upset with the way that they ran their challenges and the meal plans that were given out, and like the advice in terms of nutrition. The training I don't align with. I don't in fact, at the start, a lot of my content was very much like, let's stop the HIIT classes. Like, if you're somebody that really wants to tone or lose fat, grow muscle, if you want to do that, F45 is not going to actually help you get there. And I got a lot of clients because I was known as F45. A lot of F45 clients came to me. It has evolved over the years, and it's not necessarily like that, but I don't necessarily align, with their methodology. I think it serves a purpose in some people, but I think it's really, really important to look at what your goals are and go, okay, this is my goals. Now pick your training based off your goals, not pick your training based off what's fun or what your best friend is doing or what your sister is doing. If you are somebody that wants to move your body and you think that, you know, being at the F45 gym is fun, but you don't really have any goals and you're not really injury prone, then so be it. But I think if you're going there with the mindset of like, cool, I'm going to get my dream physique here, I'm going to grow a bunch of muscle, lose fat, I'm going to keep it off forever doing their 8-week challenges, I don't think that that's the right thing for you.
Do you think it's like a good entry level starting point for people who have never done anything before, or do you think it can affect them, like what they learn from?
It's funny that you say that. I would have said early on that, you know what, like, it's good if you've never done anything, but I probably have changed my mind a lot on that as well. I find that if you've never done any training before, especially going into like a high impact environment, somebody that has maybe 20 kilos to lose, that's never trained before, that's just focused on like, quick, get the reps out, 15 seconds to go kind of deal, you know, poor form, injury, will probably never train again, you know? So I think that's the pathway, generally speaking, if someone was to start there. And look, I don't know what their nutrition looks like anymore. It's been a long time since I've looked at that. But even from a nutrition perspective, I know that that's what really created a really poor relationship and an obsessive relationship with food for me back then. So I would say learning flexibility and learning that you can have your cake and eat it too. And we don't need to be scared of carbs after 4 p.m. and all that kind of stuff, which is what we heavily promote. I think I would suggest against it.
Yeah. What would you suggest for people if they were wanting to start somewhere?
You know what? Come and do my free 5-day challenge. No, honestly, I would say like that is a really good starting point for a lot of people. But also I think working out clearly what it is that you want to achieve. What do you want? You know, is it to lose weight? Is it to grow muscle? Is it to just live like a long, healthy life? Like get really clear on what it is that you want and then start looking at, okay, well, how can I achieve that? What are some things that I can do? Do I need to change the person that I am? Do I need to upskill? Do I need more education? You know, what is it that you're lacking? And what's preventing you from getting to that goal? I think far too many people go, okay, well, you know, Jenny did keto and she lost 30 kilos. So I'm going to do keto too. Like, are you going to be able to do keto for the rest of your life? Yes or no? No. Most people it's no. If that is your answer, then let's see how we can find a way to eat and train in a way that you can literally do for the rest of your life that aligns with your goals. That's what I would suggest. Now, you know, obviously that is something that we teach for that very reason. But there's plenty of other people that teach bits and pieces over Instagram, over YouTube. Everything is out there. You know, like all the information that anyone needs is out there. But the thing is, people don't want to scroll the internet for 10 hours a day looking for the information. It can be really conflicting, which is a huge reason, again, why we created the free 5-day challenge. It's not to, you know, like day one's not to drink water and let's do 10,000 steps the next day. It's hugely education, teaching you why what you've done in the past hasn't worked and what you need to do and how to do it, which is the missing piece of the puzzle for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are there any fad diets that are still getting around that you are shocked that are still getting around?
Like the potato diet. What the hell?
What's the potato diet?
They just literally eat potatoes. I'm like, really? So one of our things in the free 5-day challenge in the lead up to like the 2 weeks prior, we ask a question every day, right? And it's just, helps us get to know the people, and it also gets us like understanding just stuff that we're not aware of. And one of them is, you know, like what's the craziest diet you've ever tried? There's a snake diet. I didn't even ask what that was. I was like, are you literally eating snakes? Is it real snakes? Is it lolly snakes? I'm like, what is this? I was like, I don't think I don't want to know. I don't think I can.
I saw something pop up the other day on my newsfeed, on my Instagram, someone doing the water diet. They just drink water.
Really?
And that's it.
Like for how long?
I honestly, I didn't look for that long, but somebody, like there's other people being like, I'm on day 2, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm like, if anything, go the juice. Like
something.
Some sort of nutrients in it. I was like, water. I was blown away.
You're like eventually going to die.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And then their explanation was, but I have fat on my body, so I won't die because my body will use the fat to keep me alive.
Some people, like, you know what? I don't know. It is. I think so many people do go to extremes to lose weight. But the thing is, they're restricting their entire life, cutting out any form of happiness in their life so that they can lose weight and be happy. It makes zero sense. You are literally stopping everything that makes you happy in order to try and be happy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, let's do this in a way that
Yeah.
you can still live your life. You still get to lose weight and obviously gain confidence and be healthy and stuff like that. But you keep your happiness in the process and you can also be happy at the other end.
Yeah. And I feel like so many coaches have this scarcity mindset or they don't want to post the basics online because like everybody's heard it. So why post it?
You gotta keep
Do you
going.
think that coaches should be less scared of scarcity?
Yeah, and honestly, like the basics is what performs well. It's what people resonate with. It's easy to understand. It's easy to digest. Using very simple language is so important. Don't get too fancy. People are never going to think that, they use big words and they explain complex subjects, so I might, buy with them. People, like I said before, 800 people bought our program before I said even what it was. Like, people are not buying just for the program. They're buying into a brand. They're buying into maybe you. But yeah, I definitely think keeping it simple and basics is it. Time and time again, it tells that basics perform best.
I have this argument too. Think of the biggest companies in the industry.
Yeah.
All they do is talk about basics.
Yeah. Basics and, and like recipes and just simple stuff with food. Like, yeah, sometimes you're like, oh, well, I'm not just about food, but people like it.
The chokehold that recipes have on this industry is wild.
And I swear to God, no one tries them. Everyone's like, oh my God, that looks good, safe. And then they never do it again, right? Like,
I'm too lazy to try them.
Do you know what's so funny? That is so true because we have our recipe books in our membership.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, that looks great. I never make them, ever. And then I'll be like, oh, I really want something to think of for dinner.
Yeah.
Forgetting that I have this plethora of libraries of recipes that we literally put out to coaches. And I'm like, oh, I forget that they're even recipes.
Isn't it?
that I can make.
Like, that is actually, it's a thing. Brad, my husband, gets the shits all the time. He's like, can I just have lunch? Because I'm making it and recording it sometimes, and that's lunch. And he's like, I really just want to eat. He's like, people are not going to make this recipe. And I'm like, everything is content.
But they love it.
They do. They do. And look, whether it converts to a client or not, whatever.
Or they take a tiny little bit from it.
Yeah. Or they might say, oh, wow, that was a really good high protein, low calorie, tasty meal, It just sometimes visually it helps people.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Well, that was a great chat.
Yeah,
so
we do have one other little question. I know that you do have the app coming out.
Yeah.
But what area of your life are you currently making moves?
Oh, I like this. It's funny with the app coming out for the last couple of years, I have not really had a focus myself on my own health and fitness journey, as in have not had goals really. My goal has been to maintain, especially while we're traveling around Australia. And my husband and I did that really well, maintain consistency with training. And we are in our retirement phase of tracking. However, with the app coming out, we're using it to its full advantage, going through a little reverse diet, going to do a little fat loss phase at the end of it, tracking our food to, I guess, feel what our clients are feeling coming into that. So that's where I'm kind of focusing on personally. And obviously being here back on the Gold Coast in a normal house, not a caravan, heavily business focused at the minute. Just providing more and more value for our clients is the main focus for this year. That's where we're headed.
I love that. I love that you're using your own app for the experience.
I was so excited, even just tracking your food and entering that stuff into the app and just being I'm one of the girls, it's just actually, it's really, really cool. It's such a fun experience. We already train using our Train with Ash program. So even just using that on the app, it's been very surreal. I genuinely don't think it's hit home yet. I'm like, this is...
Well, it's only 2 days in.
I know. I'm like, when do you just go, wow, this is what we did?
What's your favorite feature on your app?
I love, how I was talking about the magic spreadsheet? I love that that's incorporated. It's just, I've never seen anything like it before. Tracking that data and seeing it and having the app tell you what to do with your food next week based off your compliance, based off your results. That kind of still blows my mind. I'm like, this is so cool.
I want to see it because like I'm like, the app person in the team, and I'm like, okay, I need to see what this app looks
You're
like.
like, what is this? What is this doing?
I need to see all of the parts. But yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything with us today. It's been so exciting, like learning everything about you.
Thank you. Honestly, it's been awesome.
Yay.
Thank you. And do you want to give yourself a little
Yes.
shameless plug for those that might be listening?
Look, I hang out. My online home is Instagram. That's where you'll find me the most. Ash__Lane. You could go to other places, but that's where I am all the
I
time.
love that you call it your online home. That's so cute. I've never heard it called that before. I love that. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for listening to our episode today. And hope you learned a lot about making your own app. Maybe they'll think about it twice. But excited for it. But thank you so much. And we will see you all next week. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you.